The Treasure Hunter. Galen was a Dark Age sage who had a passion for ancient history and occult lore. He had spent years studying and collecting old books, manuscripts, and artifacts that contained secrets and mysteries of the past. He was especially fascinated by the legends of hidden treasures that were buried or lost by ancient civilizations. He dreamed of finding and claiming such treasures for himself and for the advancement of knowledge. He had heard of a particular treasure that caught his interest, a golden chest that contained relics of a powerful king who had ruled over a vast empire in the east. The chest was said to be hidden in a secret chamber beneath a ruined temple in the desert. Galen decided to embark on his quest to find the treasure. He gathered supplies and equipment, including a map, a compass, a shovel and torch, and a dagger. He also brought with him a special book that he had acquired from a shady dealer, a grimoire that contained spells and rituals for summoning and controlling demons. Galen believed that he could use the grimoire to enlist the help of some demonic entities to aid him in his search. He reasoned that the demons would have access to information and abilities that humans did not, that they would be willing to serve him in exchange for some favors or sacrifices. He was not afraid of the dangers or the consequences of dealing with demons. He was confident in his intelligence and his willpower. He thought he could outsmart and outwit the creature from hell. He thought he was smart and clever. He thought he had it all. He didn't realize that he had nothing. Galen traveled to the desert following his map and his compass. He endured the heat, the sand, and the thirst. He avoided bandits and beasts and traps. He finally arrived at the ruined temple where he hoped to find the treasure. He explored the temple looking for clues and signs of the secret chamber. He found a hidden door behind the altar, which he opened with his dagger. He descended into a dark tunnel, which he lit with his torch. He followed the tunnel until he reached a dead end, where he saw a stone wall with an inscription. The inscription read, "Here lies the treasure of the king. Only those who know his name can enter." Galen was puzzled by the inscription. He did not know the name of the king who had owned the treasure. He had not found any mention of it in his books or his sources. He decided to use the grimoire to solve the riddle. He opened the book and looked for a suitable spell to summon the demon, who could tell him the name of the king. He found one that required him to draw a circle on the ground with salt, place a candle in each of the cardinal directions, light them with his torch, and recite an incantation in the ancient language. He followed the instructions carefully and completed the ritual. He waited for something to happen. Nothing happened. Galen was confused and annoyed. He checked the grimoire again and realized that he had made a mistake. He had mispronounced one of the words of the incantation. He corrected his error and repeated the ritual, waiting for something to happen. Something happened. A gust of wind blew out his torch and his candles, plunging him into darkness. A loud roar echoed through the tunnel, shaking him to his core. A foul smell filled his nostrils, making him gag. He felt the presence behind him, breathing down his neck. He turned around slowly and saw two red eyes staring at him from the shadows. He screamed. A voice spoke in his mind, cold and cruel.
"Who are you? What do you want?"
Galen tried to calm himself and answer. "I'm Galen, a sage and seeker of knowledge. I want to find the treasure of the king who lies beyond this wall."
The voice laughed mockingly. "You are Galen, a fool and a trespasser. You want to steal the treasure of my master who sleeps beyond the wall?"
Galen realized that he had summoned not just any demon, but one who had served and guarded the king, whose treasure he sought. He cursed himself for stupidity and his ignorance. He tried to bargain with the demon. "Please spare me. I mean no harm. Only want to see the treasure and learn from it. I will leave it untouched if you let me go." The voice sneered.
"Too late. You have invoked my wrath. You have disturbed my master's rest. You will pay with your life."
The demon lunged at Galen, grabbing him by his throat and lifting him off the ground. Galen felt its claws digging into his flesh and its teeth biting into his neck. He dropped the grimoire, his dagger, and his torch on the floor. He reached for them with his hands, but they were too far away. He struggled and kicked, but it was useless. He felt his blood draining and his vision fading. He heard the demon whisper in his ear,
"The name of the king is Azazel. Remember it in hell."
Galen died. The demon dropped his corpse on the ground and picked up the grimoire. He flipped through the pages and found the spell that Galen had used to summon it. It smiled wickedly and tore out the page, ate it, and swallowed it. He said to himself,
"Thank you for the snack, and the book, and the treasure."
It returned to the wall and closed the door behind it. It resumed its duty and its slumber. It was very pleased with itself. It had fooled Galen and killed him. It played with his emotions and crushed his hopes. It had tricked the trickster. It thought it was smart and clever. It thought it had won. It didn't realize that it had lost too. It would be tricked by Azazel too. It just didn't know it yet.